So, Tyler, I know this week's podcast was your choice.
Yes.
But the listeners just, they love me and we have this rapport and these things. And so I feel like I should start this one, okay?
Well, you start all of them, so that's not out of character.
True, because you're really bad at that. But anyway, my point is that before we talk about the movie, I feel like I need to connect with some of my favorite listeners. So specifically, Krista and Alani. We've bonded over Gilmore Girls over the year and a half that we've done this, and we've shared some really great memorabilia and insight, and I want to rekindle that relationship, okay?
Okay.
Is that cool with you? Okay, so Rosemary's Baby is the movie that you chose, and you can tell us why you chose it later, blah, blah, blah. But the real reason that we picked Rosemary's Baby was because it was referenced in Gilmore Girls in season 1. You don't have to agree or disagree. We all know that's why you picked it. So I just wanted to tell everybody the quote and where you can find it. So it's season 1. I believe it's episode 9. I'm not 100% sure it's episode 9 because I can't seem to locate that at the moment. But it's Rory is in school. She's dropped her books. Dean comes up behind her and he doesn't say anything. And she says, God, you're like Ruth Gordon just standing there with a tannis root. Make a noise. And then they bond over their love of Rosemary's Baby. And I had no idea anything about this movie back then. I didn't know what a tannis root was, which now we know it's because it's not real. But it's an iconic moment in this show. And so if you need a reason to watch Rosemary's Baby other than the fact that it's a classic, it was referenced in Gilmore Girls, so you can check that off your list of references you now understand.
Yeah. So if anyone can't tell, that she has a healthy fandom of Gilmore Girls. It's not an obsession. It's not to the extreme in any way.
No, it's really healthy. I mean, the massive photo that I have in my dining room of Luke and Lorelai, it's really healthy. I have Luke socks. It's a really healthy thing. It really is. It's great.
Back to the movie at hand. So I chose this because I was looking for a classic horror movie, and this is actually an audience recommend.
Yeah, so you asked me to tweet out asking people for classic horror movies, so yes. I did, and this was one of the most popular suggestions.
Yes. So I chose it. Rosemary's Baby came out in 1968.
Yeah.
I'm Tyler.
I'm Shay.
This is Cinematically Correct. Do we want to go to brief synopsis?
Brief synopsis.
Yeah, that's your jam, man. So go on.
All right. Rosemary's Baby, brief synopsis. It's a married couple that move into a new apartment. The husband allows his wife to be raped by the devil and brings a devil spawn antichrist into the world with the help of the demon worshiper witches coven that live next door.
So as you can see from his pausing and stuttering and all of that, he doesn't write down his brief synopsis prior to the podcast.
No,
which
I don't.
Maybe should be adjusted. But good job of getting that done on the fly. Good job. Was terrible, but good job. Good job.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's the summary of the movie.
That's the summary of the movie. So do we want to talk about the characters?
I think that's where we start, generally.
Okay, so full disclaimer, we are not...
100?
We're not film aficionados, which we get accused of all of the time of pretending to be them. But I feel like it's pretty clear how amateur we are.
We've never said that we're experts.
Yeah, we get reviews quite a bit about I can't believe how much you don't know about movies. Oh, we don't know a lot. I just want to put that out there. So, on this movie in particular, it came out in 1968. I'm not 1,000 years old, so I don't know half of the people in this movie. Or anything about them.
Mia Farrow.
Yeah, that's about it, because she's still alive.
Well, yeah, that's really it.
Yeah. So, I just want to put that out there so you guys aren't like, oh my god, how don't you know? We're not experts on this, and nor do we want to claim to be. So Mia Farrow plays Rosemary Woodhouse.
Yes.
I don't really have a lot to say about her character. She's very plain in this movie. I think she's meant to be, because she's supposed to be a clean slate, but...
Well, I think she's designed to be an inoffensive, innocent, pure person.
And she accomplishes that. I mean, I didn't think she was bad in any way. Nothing stood out to me about her in this movie at all. But Mia Farrow is still alive and acting today. One of the most common things she's known for is playing I think it's the babysitter in The Omen, because it's very similar to this movie.
She was the nanny in The Omen, the remake, yes.
The nanny, yeah. So it's very similar to this movie, the whole demon spawn type situation, so people know her for that. I mean, do you know her for anything in particular?
No.
Well, to go back to Gilmore Girls, because, I mean... when would I not? She was famous before this movie for being in Peyton's Place, which is another Gilmore Girls reference. So now you guys have two that you can check off your list. You're welcome.
Are we done with that? Is it out of your system? It's never going to be out of your system.
No.
That's a silly question.
No, that's unfair.
All right.
So Guy Woodhouse is played by John Cassavetes.
Can I just say Cassavetes is very similar to Cassavet? Is it
Cassavetes is close to Castevet.
Yes.
Yes. It is, I'm assuming, intentional, considering it happens a lot in this movie.
I don't know if it is intentional. I think it was just the fact that he was like the 20th choice for this movie.
But, I mean, it could be too.
Just a happy accident.
So I will say that this is a movie made from a book by Ira Levin. I don't know if the names are the same in the book. I think that would be a good clue as to whether or not it's intentional or not intentional. If the names are the same in the book, then obviously not intentional. Don't know. So if anybody knows that, let us know. I actually would be interested to read the book. But anyway.
It has been added to my list.
We have a big list on that too. Anyway, he plays a actor who is struggling and isn't able to really land jobs, newly married, and he's kind of a selfish jerk. And he
I think that's fair.
Ends up making a deal with the devil, I guess we can word it. I don't really know how to word that, but makes a deal with the devil to basically exchange his wife's womb for fame.
Sounds like a winner.
He's pretty much inarguably a total jerk. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know the actor from literal anything. I've never seen him before in my life. Some things that pop up on his IMDb are Love Streams. That pops up a lot apparently. Marvin and Teague. Tempest, which I believe is Shakespeare. Flesh and Blood. Yeah, nothing I've ever heard of in my life. So there's that. Ruth Gordon plays Minnie Castevet. So she plays this eccentric older lady who is also a witch.
Devil worshiper witch. I don't even know the distinction. Do they clarify that? Because is it witches or devil worshippers, or is there a difference? I don't really know.
Well, okay, so I will say that people who consider themselves witches nowadays would definitely say there's a difference.
Yes.
Let's clarify that. Did they clarify it in the movie? I don't know.
They didn't really clarify the movie, and at the time of the movie being made, was there a real distinction?
I don't know, but I do want to just be PC and say there is a very real difference between being a witch and being a devil worshiper. We are aware of that. But they did reference them as witches with the book.
And the coven.
And the coven and all of that, but they also obviously were Satan worshippers. So one and the same in this movie only. Okay.
Make of that what you will.
Got a little nervous there. So she was previously famous. This movie put her into the
revitalized
spotlight.
her career and got her back into...
Yeah. I don't know anything about her. Do you know anything about her?
No.
The only thing I'll say is that her character reminded me of Mimi from Drew Carey. Do with that what you will.
Well, she's just very pushy. They both were very pushy, but she had the
makeup.
over-the-top makeup and...
Yeah, I tried to find out if there was some kind of inspiration going on. There's nothing on Google. So I still maintain Mimi, Minnie, blue eyeshadow, old lady, crazy. Come on. Someone was inspired. They just didn't know it. It's fine. And then Sidney Blackmer played Roman Castevet, which is the husband.
Roman, also the name of the director. Another
happy coincidence.
Happy accident.
Yeah. I'm still maintaining it was intentional, but we would have to read the book to know. I don't know him from anything either, but the one thing that popped up on his IMDb was How to Kill Your Wife was on there.
Is that a class or?
Is that a class?
Or is it a subscription or?
I'm just going to let the internet take that one. I'm just going to, you guys can, if you agree that he should take a class on how to kill his wife, leave us a comment. If you don't, leave us a comment on how you feel about that. Yeah, so nobody else on here I particularly cared to talk about. I know there were a few people on here that you had little you wanted.
One of the only characters that I actually do know from something else that I have seen is Dr. Hill, the young doctor that throws her under the bus later on in the movie.
Yeah, we'll talk about how horrible he is of a person.
This apparently was his big break movie, and he is the dad from Beethoven.
Oh, interesting. I was waiting for you to explain what Beethoven was, because that's generally your MO, but you didn't, so okay. I'm proud of you.
I've learned my lesson.
You've grown a little bit. I'm proud. There was another character you wanted to mention, though.
Yes. Also, there was a girl that was in the movie for very briefly. Her name is Terry, and I had actually noticed this while the movie was going on.
You actually paused the movie and said, hold on a second, and backed it up.
Yes. So there's a scene where she meets Mia Farrow's character, Rosemary. Yes. Meets Rosemary in the laundry room, and Rosemary says, "Oh, I'm sorry, you look like this actress, Victoria Vetri." It is, in fact, Victoria Vetri, which is a nice coincidence.
Now, did you know this because you knew who Victoria Vetri was, or did you just want to look it up because you wanted to know if they did that?
It was the second one.
Yeah.
I wanted to know if they were doing that in the movie, and they did.
I figured that because I'm like, there's no way he recognized this person.
No, I was not disappointed. That was a fully utilized, not wasted opportunity. We talk about sometimes where there's a wasted thing in a movie. well done.
So you're giving Roman Polanski props?
Yes, absolutely giving him props for doing this just slight little thing.
It's weird to hear anybody giving Roman Polanski props. It's not from, like, France, but okay.
All right, where do you want to go from there? The beginning of the movie?
It's generally what we do, yeah. Yeah, so the beginning of the movie starts off with Rosemary and Guy looking for an apartment. They end up...
Hold on, it starts with that really creepy soundtrack.
Oh, you're right. Okay, so I skip over that because that soundtrack has not left my mind since we watched the movie, which was days ago now. And I skip over it because I don't ever want to think about it again.
And I just put it back in your head.
So thank you. Now it's re-entered my mind. So is that the Devil's Lullaby? Like, what is that? I don't know. Terrifying.
Well, we find out what it is at the end of the movie, where she decides to, spoilers, even though it's a 50-year-old movie, she decides to take care of the demon child. And she's singing to the baby. In
fairness, the ending is ambiguous, but we'll get there.
They're apartment hunting. In that apartment that they see, they didn't do a very good job staging at all.
No, I don't know if staging was a thing in the 60s, in fairness, but it was a cluttered mess. And do we know what happened to the previous tenant? She died, but do we know how?
The witches killed her.
They said that?
I'm just assuming because they said coma, and there were several people that had comas in this movie, so...
so you're deducing.
I'm inferring, yes.
Now, was she was supposed to be an older lady, right?
Yeah.
Because originally I was thinking, like, oh, maybe she could have been the first surrogate, but no, she was older, so I'm curious as to why they killed her. Maybe she knew too much or something like that.
Maybe they just needed the space so they could have a younger woman move in and try to forcibly impregnate her with Satan.
I guess nothing is logical when it comes to Satan, so okay.
Then they move in and they decide to eat dinner on the floor because why not? Why go out or why?
Yeah, I mean, why bother using linens or any kind of
table?
Yeah, anything.
Boxes.
What's the point? The floor's just as good. Tables are for peons.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so they do that in every literal movie where somebody moves in, or TV show, or anything.
I don't get that. I don't think I've ever done that. I don't.
In fairness, I totally had pizza on my floor when I moved into this house with my parents. Totally did it. Not gonna lie.
You didn't use boxes or anything? You just on the floor?
No, we were straight up on the floor.
Okay.
Yeah, so we used blankets because I had brought the blankets in for the bed.
Mm.
Does that count? It was like a picnic inside.
Well, they had a picnic. They had a tablecloth or something down on the floor.
Yeah, so I mean, it's
okay.
You have to do it, I guess. I don't know. I think it's when you have people helping you, right? Anyway, so they also did other things in the
kind of just randomly
floor.
Decided to consummate the apartment.
Yeah,
on the floor. How is that comfortable?
I don't know, and why was it necessary?
I don't know, especially when you're going to be giving her over to Satan.
Well, I don't think that he had decided that yet.
No.
So at the time, she was very much, in fact, his. But, like, you couldn't wait. Like, you needed... It had to happen right then and there. Like, the bed could not come into the house first.
Even a mattress or...
You were going to be living together. So you had every night for almost eternity. I mean, because presumably they were married, right? So, what?
Any opportunity, I guess, or any port in the storm? I don't know. Just...
Is that how y'all think?
Carpe diem, seize the day,
or seize the floor, I guess. I don't. All right. So anyway, from there we end up meeting Terry, which we already talked about.
Yes.
It was a very brief scene. She basically lets Rosemary know that she was a drug addict. The Cassavetes helped rehabilitate her, and she showed Rosemary her necklace that was supposedly good luck, and it smelled horrendous
because it's filled with tannis root, which is a made-up thing that is apparently used in satanic rituals.
From there, we meet the Cassavetes because we see right after that scene that Terry has killed herself, or so
much blood.
So we assume.
That was really the only violent part, or a gruesome scene in the whole movie, with obviously the exception of the devil rape scene. There's not a whole lot of violence or gore in this movie. It's mostly just the building of the suspense and the tension, which I do kind of like more than the new age horror movies, which it's all either jump scares or just violence for the sake of violence.
I can agree with that.
So she meets the Cassavetes, and they are pushy as hell, and they're just an old married couple. Seems innocent enough. She goes over to have dinner with them. Her husband doesn't really want to go, and then instantly changes his mind and is a huge fan of theirs, which we don't know why.
Mm-hmm.
He apparently is very corruptible because he just, I don't know what was said or what happened, but he was just all about helping them victimize his wife, which is horrible.
Well, so there's questions as to what happened there. I mean, was he corruptible, as you're saying? Was a spell put on him? Was he brainwashed? I mean, did he make a pact with the devil that, like, caused some kind of, like, cosmic shift? Like, what? There's things to be said, because, I mean, we have to note that right before he went, he was very adamantly against it. He kept saying he didn't want an elderly couple friendship because they would end up being around all the time, which he was in fact correct about that. He was just very against it. And then all of a sudden, one dinner, which wasn't even that much of a resounding wonderful dinner or anything like that, and all of a sudden he's changed. So there's the question of what happened, what changed.
I think Roman Castevet, very good at sales, because he probably just said, hey, what do you want? I can make it happen. And then selfish guy took over and made a deal with the devil. That's my thought.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably fair. I think it could also be the side of a guy who wants to provide for their family, and he was desperate and destitute, and the Satan worshippers took advantage of somebody who was in a precarious situation and knew that was his weak spot, and they got him to make a pact, and it changed him as a person.
I mean, I guess I can say, I have a different opinion on that. I think he just is a horrible person and selfishly made a deal for personal fame at the expense of his wife.
I guess that's something that we won't know unless it's possibly in the book. I don't know.
I mean, I'm going to read it, so...
I've been told that this movie is very close to the source material, so I don't know if that would be in there. So I think it's either at this encounter or one soon after, but Minnie gives Rosemary the necklace that Terry was wearing.
Yes.
So it smells really horrible. We find out that tannis root is in it, which we should state is a made-up thing. There is some speculation based on the book that Hutch gives her later in the movie that it's what the book calls devil's pepper. So
that's what the witches and people use in their rituals, correct?
Correct. So, I mean, it's pungent, it's awful, but I had written down, does the necklace make someone beholden to the old couple somehow? Because Terry was wearing it for a while, and then when she is found dead, she no longer has it on her. And then Rosemary's wearing it, and she removes it when she is able to, like, start fighting back.
Which I didn't notice when you had brought that up, and I was actually...
When I had brought that up previously, so you're letting our people know that we had to record this twice again?
No, during the movie, you had written that down, and you had said that, and I didn't pick up on that, and I thought it was very insightful. So I wanted to give you props.
Thank you. That's so sweet. But I have no idea if that's actually a thing at all. I don't actually know the significance of the necklace. I was just assuming that there had to be something there because of that. We also do note in the movie that Dr. Saperstein is wearing cologne that is also tannis root style cologne.
And that's supposed to signal that he is part of the cult, which we find out later in the book, and later in the movie.
Right.
Now, the next scene is the whole eating the moose and then getting violently raped by Satan.
Right. So in this movie, I just want to state before you go into that is, other than the moose, there was also drinks and stuff previous that I kept writing down, are they drugged? Are they drugged? Are they drugged? So I don't know if I was starting to get suspicious of these people or what the situation was, but...
I have a sense that you didn't like them because they're so pushy and in your face. I didn't like them either for that reason. The vodka blush that they served when they went over for dinner, coincidentally, is usually garnished with a piece of rosemary.
So you're going to try it and you're going to let everybody know how it is? Is it a real drink?
It is a real drink.
So then yes, you are.
I don't know what it is, but I will try it.
Oh, I'm glad we've got that established. So if you guys know what vodka blush is, tweet it at me and I will force Tyler to drink it and let you guys know how it is. So you were going to talk about the moose?
So the moose, she gets drugged. His is fine, and we later find out that he's in on it. I didn't put that together at the time. You did when we were watching this movie?
Yeah, I don't even know where I wrote it down, but I wrote somewhere that guy is in on the drugging because he automatically gave her the correct one. Now, upon further research, I did find out that the toppings of the moose are different, so that is how he knew. So she may have in fact told him, give this one to her, and he might not have actually been totally in on it, but I still will stick with my original thought that he was in on it.
No, I totally think he was in on it. I wrote down how could they know which one she would eat when we were watching it, and then that's how. 2 different
toppings, yes.
And then she gets impregnated by the devil, and then tells the neighbors, because you tell your neighbors before your family.
No. I don't want to interrupt you, but we are not glossing over it was kind of fun in a necro kind of way.
Oh, his excuse where she wakes up with scratch marks and him saying, oh, I had sex with you while you were unconscious?
Yes. So you jumped a little, and I just want to make sure we get that in there.
That is very much, even if the devil was not involved, that's still rape. That's still a horrible thing.
And I don't know if things were different back then, but I have to assume that was still a horrifying thing to say.
Yeah. Oh, it's bad.
Yeah, so I mean that's an actual quote of "it was kind of fun" in a necro kind of way. I wrote down "ew" with a lot of W's, so we just had to make sure we got that in there because that is.
I wrote down "that's rape."
Right. Now we will talk about the unfortunate coincidence of this movie having rape when the director was Roman Polanski. We'll get there, but I want to make sure you didn't just gloss right over that because the feminist in me was like, "Hey, slow your roll." Anyways, go on.
Well, so then she's now pregnant. And she then tells her neighbors instead of her family or his family or even her friend. Like the first people they tell are their creepy neighbors.
Should we mention that they also give her alcohol when she announces her pregnancy?
Yes. I wrote down, she is pregnant, no booze. And then I wrote down, on second thought, it's the devil's baby. So
booze it up?
Chug, chug, chug. Then she gets the pixie cut randomly.
Yeah, I know that it was to mention the hairstylist.
Of Vidal Sassoon?
Yeah, and it happened in the book too.
Yes.
I just really don't know the purpose, but I wasn't a fan.
You don't like the pixie cut? It's not your jam?
No, it's not my jam. No.
There's a lot of cavalier things that they did in this movie, like the drinking while you're pregnant. Mm-hmm. There's also a lot of smoking around a pregnant lady, which
I don't think they... Is that before the big tobacco and all that stuff was determined to be extremely unhealthy? I believe it was.
Well, tobacco companies knew, but they didn't tell anybody. No.
Yeah, okay. So, I mean, technically they didn't really know, so...
Still terrible.
Well, it's bad looking on it in retrospect, yes.
Then she goes to the doctor, Dr. Hill first, and then they immediately put the kibosh on that and say, no, you have to talk to...
Saperstein.
Our guy, which also is creepy in a controlling kind of way.
Right. He fits the mold of a cultist doctor.
Yeah. And then she's in all kinds of horrible pain and not getting medical care. I mean, this is the point of the movie where she looks ill, very pale, very skinny. And she has that huge argument with her husband over being in so much pain. And he says, when she asks for a second opinion, he says, it's not fair to the doctor.
Yeah. And I mean, I wrote down, nope, she wants a second opinion. It's not up to you.
I can't even imagine having that argument with you because you would stab me.
Well, I also wouldn't be asking. It would be, I just wanted to let you know that I'm going to the doctor tomorrow to have a second opinion. Like, this is not
Or I've already had a second opinion.
Right.
Because...
This isn't a conversation. This is my health and my body. Like, no. But I know things were different. It's just no. So I know that this podcast has now hit like 25 minutes. And people are expecting a 40-minute podcast at this point. So that's fine. But I did want to kind of speed up the ending here. One thing I wanted to note, though, so the ending is basically her dealing with the pregnancy, letting everyone know that she's hurt and trying to fight back, but nobody believes her. No one listens to her. At one point, she has a party with her young friends, and she's kind of like trying to take back her life kind of situation. So there's speculation in the internet that at said party, Roman Polanski's wife, which is...
Sharon Tate.
It was at the party. Now, I don't know. It's not confirmed. It's just speculation. Sharon Tate also was a favorite for the role of Rosemary. So
but
it's
then
possible.
Roman Polanski thought it was favoritism and unfair.
Right. So, I mean, she did hang around the set a lot. And it is possible that she is in the movie. But I just think that is very odd. But it leads to something I want to talk about later. But I just want to mention it.
She gets a second opinion, but the young doctor throws her under the bus. And I really don't blame him. Because he's probably just trying to do what's best for her because he thinks that she's crazy.
Yes. But
still, I would have handled it differently if I was her. I would have booked a hotel room and not told my husband where I was and just gone to a hotel in a different city.
I don't know that would have helped, though, because, I mean, she came and talked to him and then he called and had them pick her up. So I don't think, like, no matter where she was staying, it would have really mattered because he was basically trying to get her back.
Well, no, I would have gone to a completely different doctor.
Oh, okay.
And not mention any of the whole conspiracy thing. Say, I'm pregnant, I have nowhere else to go. Please help me deliver a baby at a hospital in, like, Baltimore.
Yeah. I mean, I do think it speaks to the larger narrative in this whole movie of how women are not trusted, which is a little bit concerning and not listened to.
But she had a lot of cash. She could have gotten a long ways away.
Yeah, she could have. But anyway, that didn't happen. A random thing I wanted to note is at one point she threw the Tannis root necklace down a sewer.
Yes.
And I said, throwing a Tannis root necklace in the sewer either created it or Ninja Turtles. I'm not sure, but one of the two happened, if not both.
Hopefully Ninja Turtles. It's New York City. It's not Maine. So there you go.
I'm sure that there are some sewers that connect up that direction. Just saying. So anyway, just saying, I had to throw that out there because that would be a really cool, like, universe type situation. So the other major scene that we need to talk about at the end of the movie was the having the baby.
Yeah.
So they give her a sedative right before labor, which I'm not sure how that goes, but whatever. She has a baby, they take it from her. We didn't mention previously that the rape scene was a lot. It was intense. The actor who played the devil was Clay Tanner.
Yes.
And Mia Farrow later in life said that he was completely naked during that scene and was wearing demonic makeup and vertical contacts and spent hours grinding on top of her. And then at the end of it, got up and shook her hand very cordially. She said he was a very nice man. So I don't know what to do with that information, but it was information I felt like we needed to talk about.
He's just a working professional, darling. Everyone has a job to do and a part to play.
He was completely naked. Was that necessary? Don't they have, like, naked suits?
Well, and we only see the devil's face. Why did he have to be naked if we legitimately only saw his face?
Right. And so I wanted to bring that up because we also, when we see the baby finally, we only see the baby's face.
Do we see the baby's face? I don't even think we
Well,
did.
we see, like, eyes.
It was really kind of, first off, when she has the baby and then they say, oh, it's dead and you had a miscarriage, she hears the baby crying. At what point is a mother not running through a wall to get to the crying baby after just giving birth? That did make not nice sense. She went to bed. No, that's not reality.
Well, she was drugged.
I mean, I guess, but even then, adrenaline's a hell of a thing.
Right. I mean, she was starting to collect her drugs. She wasn't taking them anymore. Apparently in the book, she uses those collected drugs to drug a lady, part of the cult, and the one that's, like, fighting back and doesn't want her to take the baby when Roman finally tells her to let her be the mother. She drugs her, apparently, and claims that she's going to kill her, and then the cult people are like, we don't really care as long as you're the mother.
Well, I mean, they worship the devil, so...
Right. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, that's really all the big scenes I want to talk about from the movie, because the rest of it is, you know, her having the baby and then her making the decision on whether or not to keep the baby. The ending is ambiguous.
Well, the ending is ambiguous. I'd written down, when she has the knife, I expected her to stab somebody.
Yes, I did too.
And then I also, at the end of it, when she saw the baby and that it was a monster, I expected her to grab it and jump out the window.
Which that is speculation that she may have been planning to do so, or she had been planning to keep the baby. They kind of leave it ambiguously. You don't know what she's thinking. You don't know what she's planning on doing. I mean,
I guess that's fair, and that's not a worse ending. I just expected that as the natural course of things to, out of spite, say, it's the devil, baby, goodbye.
But she's also a mother, and she believes it's half hers.
Well, it is half hers. Yeah, that's the problem. That's the up in the air kind of thing.
Right. Now, of course, there are sequels out there in the world, so we can assume that she did not kill the baby. But I don't know if the director or the author of the book had anything to do with the sequels. I don't know that. So do with that what you will.
Right. So I think that covers the movie.
That does.
For the most part.
So are there details you want to talk about, notwithstanding audience acts?
Well, a couple things. So the walking in traffic scene that she does in the movie, Roman Polanski, the director, said, just do it. No one's going to hit a pregnant lady. And they walked into traffic. That violates all kinds of health and safety regulations.
Good for her, though, for being able to do it. I wouldn't.
She ate raw liver in one of the scenes, despite being a vegetarian.
That's horrifying.
That's being committed.
Yep.
The baby was born June 66.
Yep.
Which is 666.
Mm-hmm.
Abe Saperstein, the doctor, has the same name as the person that founded the Globetrotters, the Harlem Globetrotters.
Interesting.
That's all I got.
Okay, so before we go into audience asks, I do want to talk about William Castle.
Okay.
So William Castle is the producer of the movie, and he also makes a cameo. He's the guy outside the phone booth. But he was convinced that there was a curse, Rosemary's Baby curse. He thought that because of a bunch of horrible things that happened, that it had to be because of said curse. So Robert Evans, producer, was arrested for cocaine weeks after the filming. Film composer died weeks after the film ceased. William Castle suffered kidney failure shortly after the film's release. Obviously, Sharon Tate was murdered. Robert Evans was also falsely tied to murder. He also suffered multiple strokes.
Oh, jeez.
Yep. And I can't read what that one says, but then the last one was John Lennon was brutally murdered outside the hotel that the movie was shot.
Okay.
Yes, so there is a lot of, is there Rosemary's Baby curse? It sounds like there could be. I don't know, but it's a big thing on the internet, and it's a big kind of like...
I mean, I'm not one for curses or anything like that, but that's a lot of unfortunate things tied to a related thing.
Yes, it's not a happy coincidence anymore?
No, it's not a happy accident or coincidence.
So we're not there. Okay, so I just want to check. One other random note, Robert Redford was wanted for the role of Guy. He wasn't able to do it. The contracts broke down. But, would I have given anything for those blue eyes, let me tell you.
Burt Reynolds also was in talks to do Guy.
That is true. So that's pretty much everything. I did want to mention, people had asked me on the internet if I heard anything about a Rosemary's Baby remake and what I felt about that. Not during Audience Ask, just in general, people were talking about it. I did not find anywhere that a remake is currently in production. However, there was an NBC miniseries back in 2014 where Zendaya Salata, the girl who played Gamora, was Rosemary.
Oh, okay.
It was a 2-night TV series. It didn't get great reviews, but it does exist. She apparently did a great job, but the rest of it was apparently just kind of eh. So that's all I know about a remake. I would be interested to see it just to kind of see how they played it out and to see if they updated anything.
See, I'm very hesitant to be okay with a remake because this is a classic horror movie, which is what I had asked for. And I felt that they did a very good job of pacing for this movie, and it wasn't overly violent or gory or anything like that. And I like those movies more than the new movies where it's all special effects and just kind of slapped together and say the used car salesman meme. You want to see how many special effects we can fit in there? It can fit all of them. Slaps the hood.
Right. So, I mean, if you guys would be interested in us reviewing the miniseries, I mean, it's kind of a movie. It's almost like it. It's a two-night miniseries type situation. If you'd be interested in us reviewing that, I'm sure we could find a way to get it. We would do that because, I mean, I think it would be interesting.
Well, this movie does also have a lot of tie-ins to a movie we've already done.
Which is?
Hereditary.
That's actually true. That's a good point.
Where there's the whole devil-worshipping cult bringing about the Antichrist.
That's true. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Good for you. The only other thing about the remake that I wanted to mention, in case you guys were thinking that the remake could have been Tarantino's film that's coming out soon, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, it does touch on Sharon Tate and Roman Polanski, so that is bringing their names back up, but it is not a remake of Rosemary's Baby. It's kind of more about them as actors and being part of Hollywood. So I don't know if that was what some people were thinking of. Anyway, do you want to move into Audience Asks?
Audience asks.
I think that's fair. We are at 36 minutes, so...
So, moving into Audience Asks, one of the questions we have to address, because both Mr. Positivity Wolfie T, which is one of our most common question askers, is that a word? They do watch this movie. I don't know if I mentioned that, but if you guys are interested in movie podcasts, they do one, and I should probably mention that here and there.
We've done a promo for them not too long ago.
We probably have, but they do a really good movie podcast. I don't want to not mention it, but they ask a lot of good questions. But somebody else also asked the same question, Pope Wonka DCLXVI. So I wanted to bring it up. So it says, also, how does it feel watching a movie about a rape that's directed by someone who would later be convicted of drugging and raping a minor and then fleeing to Europe before serving his sentence, where he continues to make movies and be praised by Hollywood?
Yeah, it's a little bit tone deaf that he is allowed to just be critically acclaimed and just continue on with his life without facing any kind of real repercussions because he left the country.
Right. So, for people who don't know what he did, Polanski was accused of raping 13-year-old Samantha Geimer by basically loading her up with drugs and alcohol and raping her at Jack Nicholson's home while Jack Nicholson was vacationing in Colorado.
Yes, very important to note that Jack Nicholson was not in any way there or involved.
No, he was not, but still. The proceedings went on. He ended up overhearing, I believe it was a judge, stating that they were planning on incarcerating him. And when he heard that, he decided to flee. He first, I believe, went to, I want to say it was England, and then realized he could be extradited, and then decided to move to France, where he cannot be extradited. Recently, I want to say it was 2014, I could be wrong on dates, but he went to Switzerland to go to a film festival to accept a Lifetime Achievement Award, and the U.S. officials asked for him to be extradited. Switzerland did arrest him, but they ended up deciding to release him, and he went back to France, and that is where he remains. There is a lot of debate of whether or not he should have to come home and face the charges. I believe the girl herself tried to drop the charges because she does not want to hear about it anymore, because it's bringing up all these bad memories, and she just wants it gone, and she feels that he should not be held anymore because it's been 30 years. She's made public statements, but they will not drop it.
I mean, to be fair, I think the statute of limitations would have ended, but...
There is no statute of limitations on this because he was convicted.
Well, there's no statute of limitations. Even if there was, if you leave the country, I think it stops the time frame.
I don't know about that.
But,
I just know that because he was convicted, there is no statute of limitations.
Yeah. So I think he just come back, get it over with, and be done with it.
Well, I mean, at this point, he's got to be like 70 or 80, somewhere around there. He's relatively old.
Well, yeah.
So, I mean, he's going to die in France, right? I mean, that's just what's going to happen, really.
Yeah.
So how does it feel to watch a movie about that? I mean, I have two views on this. This did happen prior to that situation happening. Now, does it make him a good guy? Does it mean that he didn't do horrible things before? No. But you can appreciate a film for a film without pulling that into it. Should he have to be accountable for his actions? Absolutely. And it is tough to see that, and it's a very unfortunate situation. But I still appreciate the movie for what it is, and it's also Ira Levin's work. So I think maybe viewing it as more an appreciation of Ira Levin rather than Roman Polanski is something we can do.
I mean, I suppose that's fair. You can like the movie but not like the people involved in the movie. Certainly.
Right. And there's plenty of that going on now with the whole Me Too movement. There's plenty of movies out there that y'all loved that are you going to just completely disown because of people that have been involved in things? I don't know. I mean, that's your choice to make, a personal choice.
And then on the other side of it, he has suffered quite a lot with the whole Sharon Tate murders and the whole trauma of losing your wife and your baby.
Okay, he has suffered, but that does not negate what he did, and does not negate her suffering.
I'm not saying that he shouldn't be held accountable. I'm saying that
but yes,
karma may in fact be a real thing.
So is this Rosemary Baby curse another thing? Could it be? Who knows?
Maybe.
We don't know. But anyway, so do with that what you will. I don't think we gave a solid answer because I don't really have a solid answer. I'm not really sure how I feel about that. He was inarguably one of the best filmmakers of his time. Everybody seems to agree on that. Stanley Kubrick said this is one of his favorite films.
I mean, he does a good job with directing, but right. He's a horrible person.
Right. So, I mean, that's something we can all agree on. Anyway, the other question was, Marketing Angel asked, please discuss the behavior of Guy Woodhouse. Naturally a narcissist, or did Roman have influence?
So I just think that he was pitched a deal and he took the selfish way out of it. He's like, oh, I need to be famous and this is the easiest way to go about it. I'm going to give my wife to the devil.
Okay, so let's start with the beginning of the question. Do you think he was a narcissist?
I don't know if he was a narcissist. He was certainly very selfish and didn't care about other people.
I mean, so I don't feel he was a narcissist per se. I think that's a word that people kind of use in weird ways. But narcissist particularly is more about sociopathic tendencies, really being like completely removed from other people, only self-serving, everything is everyone else's fault. And while he has tendencies that way, at the beginning of the movie especially, you really see that he does in fact care for his wife. He did horrible things to her, but I don't think he is completely devoid of emotion.
See, I would argue that part of the movie at the beginning where he's doing all the nice things, it's really just because she is the best achievement in his life so far. He's not really successful as an actor, so he is proud of getting her as his wife and wooing her.
That could absolutely be. I mean, I just felt he did not seem to be completely devoid of emotion. He seemed to be more desperate to me. But again, we read him differently. And as for did Roman have influence, I think we would both agree that Roman had influence. Whether or not, how much influence might be disagreed upon, but he had influence. Because he was not, in fact, this bad before he met Roman. Bad or not, he was not this bad. Like giving his wife to the devil bad.
That is fair.
Okay. So anyway, that's that for Audience Ask. There were a few more questions, but I mean, that's like the main topics people wanted us to cover. You look like you want to say something, so go for it.
Well, I have the History Minute.
Tyler's History Minute.
So I have a brief History Minute this week.
All right.
So this movie deals with Satanists and witches and things of that nature, so I wanted to talk about...
Oh, did it? Oh, okay.
A little bit.
Thank you for cluing me in. I didn't know.
A little bit.
Okay.
So I just wanted to talk briefly about the Church of Satan. So the Church of Satan was created in 1966, coincidentally.
I don't know if that's coincidentally, but okay.
And then they're not really an organization about worshiping the devil, even though they're the Church of Satan. It's more of a group of skeptical atheists that want to poke holes in the arguments of organized religion, where they're trying to bring about enlightenment by saying you can't really be serious that you believe that all of these stories are real and literal things that happened.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Well,
there's something to be said for that. That's all I will say there.
So they do a lot of things where they will, in the name of religious equality, put up a statue to Satan next to a statue of the Ten Commandments because they're trying to keep the separation of church and state,
right,
and all of that. Originally founded by Anton LaVey, and then it was transitioned over to someone else, but it's been an organization for mostly people trying to bring about positive change despite the titling and the name.
Right. So I wanted to mention one thing because you mentioned Anton LaVey. There is speculation that he was involved in this film. He was not involved in this film at all. He was involved later on in another film about Satanism. I don't remember the name of the film right now, but I just wanted to clarify that he is not involved. I also wanted to say that a lot of people don't understand that Satanism, they follow the golden rule just as much as Catholics do, if not more, to be fair. So it's not, as he said, it's not a bad religion in any way or anything like that. It's very misunderstood. But this movie does not, in fact, portray Satanism as it is. And I just want to make that really clear because people out there, I'm sure, are still considered, air quotes, Satanists.
It's a misrepresentation. It's almost like they have the view you only have one life to live, so you might as well make everyone else's life better and thereby make your life better as well. So it's just, it's everyone is treated well, then everyone has a good life, and that's all you can really ask for.
Right, and I mean, I commend that. I do. So I wanted to clarify that this movie does not accurately represent Satanism. So there is that. Also, to just end this, I never swear, but since we've mentioned the word coincidence about 1,000 times, I thought it was really funny that one of my notes, I don't actually know why I wrote this down, but one of my notes, in fact, says, fuck coincidence. So I had to put that out there because I don't even know why I wrote it down, but I did, and you've said it 17 times.
Yeah.
So, going into ratings?
Reviews.
I think ratings, yeah. So Rotten Tomatoes, the professional rating...
The professional rating? You mean the critics?
The film critic rating is a 99.
Wow.
And then the audience score is an 87.
Okay. It's still not bad at all.
No, it's not bad at all. I would say I would probably give it a 9.5.
Wow, that's high for you. That's really high for you.
Well, I'll say 9.25. We'll adjust that a little bit. 9.25.
Okay.
So it's a very good movie. It is billed as a horror classic. It lives up to the billing. I liked the fact that it wasn't just over-the-top violent, over-the-top jump scares or anything like that. It reminds me of a lot of the horror movies that I do enjoy, like anything by Alfred Hitchcock, really. It has that kind of same building of suspense that he does so well. So I overall enjoyed it. The acting was fine. It wasn't over-the-top 70s or 80s acting or 60s, 80s. You have that campy feel sometimes. So the acting was fine. So yeah, 9.25.
Okay, well, I was going to give it a 9. I would give it a 10 because it's exactly everything I like. It's thriller, it's psychological, all of those things, but I have to always deduct points when the women are treated the way that they are in this film, and I realize that it is a different time and all of that. However, this was a little egregious with the whole necro comment and marital rape and all of that. You just gotta kind of, especially given who the director is, you gotta kind of put that into perspective a little bit. So that's the only reason I take off points. I enjoyed it. I thought the acting was really good. I always worry going into older films that they're going to be over-exaggerated, or it's going to be campy, or it's going to be more humorous than scary, and none of that was true for this movie. And the special effects were actually decent. I mean, there wasn't a lot of special effects, but what was there, to see the devil and stuff like that, it didn't jar me in any way. I wasn't like, oh my god, that's so cheesy, which happens a lot in these type of films.
Right.
So, anyways, I liked it. But we are so far over time, it's not even funny, which we knew would happen. And I'm sorry, but it might happen more often, especially as we move into horror month of October. So, sorry. Next week's movie was my choice. I am introducing you to the movie Idle Hands because how you haven't seen it, I don't know. It was a staple in my childhood. So I'm really excited for you to see it and see if you like it.
I'm sorry I had a very sheltered upbringing.
Yes, that is true. We will probably have to get into that more in a future episode. But anyways, I wanted to thank Jake at Athos Music for our intro and outro music and let you guys know if you want to talk to us outside the podcast, we are on Twitter. I am at CinematicallyC. Tyler is BlameTylerCC. You can email us cinematicallycorrect@gmail.com, or we are now on Instagram. I revived our Instagram, I guess, at cinematicallycorrect. So other than that, come back next week and listen to us talk about idle hands.
Thanks for listening.